Hi, this is a new channel update video, and mainly the main message is that I'm going to stop making weekly videos in this general format. At least that's the plan. So it's not completely off the table that I could do this kind of stuff again, but I don't intend to for the foreseeable future at least. And then in the rest of the video, I'll just be kind of explaining why I'm making this choice. But if that's all you wanted to know, then you know, and you can move on. This has mostly been, at least the decision has been influenced by the fact that since the last 4 months, I think about 4 months, I've had a new job. I've moved to a new rhythm because I work night shifts. And so that has led me to reconsider things. Although a lot of the motivations or reasoning for why I'm doing this change had already been brewing for a little bit before, or maybe a long bit before. And just before I get into the rest of it, I was just wanted to thank all of you, all the people that have watched the videos, that have subscribed to the channel and left interesting or supporting comments, for just giving me a chance in the wild sea of competition, which tends to be more attractive than my videos. So thanks for everyone who just engaged with the channel for the duration of its life. I mean, not that it's going to die, but it is going in hibernation, I guess we'll say. And so with that said, basically, I just wanted to kind of recap the journey of the channel kind of quickly, and then explain some of the pros of the way I was doing content up to now. So yeah, so back to a video for the the nostalgia, I guess, for the channel updates. I did it with the video feed, and so I'm in my living room. It's at night because now I'm on a later schedule, so we have poor lighting and we have the great sound interference of the street outside. One of the reasons I moved to doing just audio versions of the videos, but I guess we'll just keep them because I don't want to spend ages doing this video. And so, yeah, so I'll do a quick recap and then list the pros and cons of the way I've been doing things lately, and then explain my conclusion, and that's about it. So, a quick recap. I've been initially when I started doing content, it was a blog. I kept a blog and I did blog posts, and then after time, at first it was pretty like erratic, the publication schedule, and then I started publishing them monthly until in around April 2024 I started creating weekly videos, or I would publish videos weekly. And I was mainly inspired to do this by George Cao's 3 stages of content. In this case, videos were stage 1 content. And the whole idea behind stage 1 content is that it's supposed to be light to make, so you can do it frequently. It's supposed to kind of blend, on one hand, personal exploration or public journaling, as he calls it, where basically you kind of reflect on thoughts or changes in your life or stuff like that that have been important for you or interesting, and then you're kind of mixing it with service to others or hoping that it might be of help to other people, but you don't put too much pressure. You're kind of just doing it lightly. That's a big theme. And then basically through the feedback of the audience, you can kind of experiment and see which of these insights or which of these ideas are resonating, are working for people. And then basically you use those that perform well, and you further you start working on them further. So doing stage 2 content, which is more broadly published or distributed. And then you bundle the best stage 2 content into stage 3, which is products basically. So it could be books or whatever, courses, because there's a demand and interest for these types of ideas and subjects. And so that's part of why I moved from doing big, long blog posts that would take me months to moving to quicker videos. And I'd say I gave it a pretty good try because I've been doing this for about 1 year. I published 44 videos. I mean, not all of them were content. Some of them were some like kind of a murky zone for channel updates like this. Is it real video, or I don't know, but at least around 40 videos. So that's decent. And I've accumulated up to 55 subscriptions, which is already pretty good. So thanks for everyone who was part along the ride. Now, I mean, you might argue that I wasn't very good at doing the light version of the content. I guess you're supposed to do them in about 1 hour max to produce the stage 1 content. I went from 5 hours per video to 1 hour 30, 2 hours at my best, but usually I take way more time. So you could say I mean, some people might argue I never really did true stage 1 light content. But in any case, I can see a lot of wisdom in this approach. And I mean, I probably didn't do it, full justice when I explained it, but I don't think it's really for me. It's not working for some different reasons. I'm not saying it doesn't work in general, but just for me, I don't think it's a best fit. And so moving on, what are the, or at least some of the pros or benefits of doing it this way I can see, and then why I'm not doing it, the downsides, in my opinion. So pros are, well, the first one is that it gives you, it creates a high output. Like you publish a lot, right? Because you publish frequently and consistently. Well, I haven't always been consistent, but when I was doing it outside of Hiatus, I was pretty decent at doing one every week, except for a few weeks where I had decided in advance I'd take kind of a sabbatical for that week. And that's, so I've been putting out a lot more content than when I was spending 1 month or more doing a blog post. So that's one benefit for sure. I also started having some audience engagement, so views, comments, and such things, and also kind of based on the likes or dislike ratio or the number of views, you can kind of gauge what is interesting to people or what people like or what is more divisive. So you kind of get some feedback from the audience, and you can also kind of start growing an audience. Whereas when I was just posting blog posts on my obscure niche website that nobody visits, well, then I didn't had, well, if I had engagement, I didn't even had a way to see it except from very vague analytics. And from that engagement, as I said, you get kind of the experimentation and feedback aspect to kind of see what is resonating, and also because you're publishing more frequently, you can experiment with more type of content. So all of that are good. Are a good part of this process or this way of doing it. And also it's a good practice, right? Because you're kind of practicing expressing yourself weekly, and it's kind of also practicing your discipline with being consistent with the whole process. So all of that is good. And there's probably even more benefits if you're kind of more entrepreneurial. Well, I can't pronounce the name. if you're more in the business mindset of entrepreneurship. This word, it always annoys me. It's entrepreneur in French. It's pronounced weirdly in English. The EU is always, some of those French sounds are weirdly pronounced in English. Anyways, let's not get lost too deep into digressions. So on the con side for me, this frequency of output kind of put a decent amount of pressure on me. Because, well, it's just a decent amount of time investment. As I said, at the best I could do them in or the fastest I've ever published a video is maybe 1 hour and a half, but usually it's at least 2-3 hours per week, which is maybe not that much technically, but when you start including that you kind of work a full-time job, and it's not, and then it's also the fact that it's like mental pressure of you have to do this, so you need to prepare the outline. So this is stuff I need to do usually in my downtime when I'm at work, because in the work I do sometimes there's nothing to do. So in that time I can scribble my outlines on my phone. But then so I have to think to do this then, and then I kind of need to prepare and publish the whole thing. So it's kind of it's a pressure to always have to do this with this stringent schedule. Another downside, or basically probably maybe one of the biggest problem a recurring problem, a recurring source of friction for me, is that I'm somewhat unsatisfied, or no, I'm not even somewhat, I'm just unsatisfied with the results. I mean, not that they're terrible, but basically these videos have a low level of polish because I'm just basically I write an outline for an idea or a set of ideas I want to share, which is, it's okay. And then I just basically talk through the outline, but I haven't rehearsed. Like I'm just talking through it as I'm going, and I'm not very good at doing that. I'm much better when I'm writing to I can articulate myself pretty well when I write, but when I'm speaking, not great. Under average, I would say. So yeah, and then low polish is one aspect, and I kind of like. I mean, I'm not saying that the thing I did previously were perfect, but there was like a higher standard for quality. I was more pleased with the level of polish and kind of trying to do something I'm happy with, that I'm putting some care in. I'm both in, and that's another aspect, like low engagement or fun, both in me making the product, or the it's not really a product, but the content, we'll say, no good words, and also watching it back to an extent. Like if I read my blog post, I may at least I'm satisfied with them in that I try to make them engaging and interesting to read, even if, basically when I read them back, I'm still somewhat engaged. I still usually enjoy reading them, even though I'm not learning any new information, but I write them in such a way that they're still interesting to read, hopefully. I think it passes my standards, we'll say, so that I'm still interested, engaging with it, even if just on an informational level, I'm not getting that much out of it. These videos, there's no, except maybe like a couple of videos I made, and probably the first few ones I made, but overall there's not that much engagement, or like the format, we'll say, aside from the substance, so to speak, the information, there's nothing. I'm just conveying information, basically, even in a suboptimal way. So there's not much interest in the medium in itself, which I kind of like when I'm making full use or taking full use of the medium I'm using, whether it be writing or videos. And then, the last aspect is kind of mention it, but it's kind of low pride, so to speak, or not in a, pride is kind of, controversial. It can be a bad thing, but it's kind of looking fondly back on things you have done. And there are some videos I've done on this channel where I'm pretty, I can look back on them fondly, but usually it's because I was kind of experimenting or trying something and I thought it worked pretty well. I would have to watch them back to be sure that I'm not deluding myself, but there's a couple of them I'm pretty happy with, but overall, not so much. Whereas when I look back at a lot of other creative projects I made in the past, whether it be my blog posts, some video games I did, small video games, some short stories I wrote, other videos I made in the past, which were different in scope, like none of them were perfect, or there's a lot of flaws I can think of. All the games I did, I think basically the gameplay is uninteresting. But I put in some effort. There some stuff I'm proud of, or I can look back on fondly, and I'm like, I'm kind of pleased with it. These videos, not so much. The only thing I'm pleased with is that I finally took some of my ideas and published them in some way, but that's basically it. And then another aspect of this is basically this main advantage of getting those ideas out. Then another point of friction is I feel I'm not doing them full justice, because the way I explain them or I talk through them, as I said, I'm not very eloquent, and so I think they could come across better. They could be stringed along better sometimes, because I'm kind of doing this is all first try, basically. I write the outline and then I go through the outline. But sometimes as I'm speaking through my outline, I'm realizing, oof, I should have structured this differently, actually, on a second thought. Now, if I was writing this and I didn't have a specific deadline, I can be, then that's what happened all the time on my blog. I'd be like, oh wow, I midway through the thing, I'm like, oh, this is all wrong. I need to review it completely and have an existential crisis, and then reorder the whole, or redo all the outline coming next, or changing stuff. So it's got its own cons, because then you're never finishing anything, and it's more complicated and convoluted process. But at the end, you can get a more well-crafted result that flows well logically. You can understand what's being said. Whereas this, stage one content, or my bastardized version of it, basically it's good for me to get first drafts out. It forces me to actually take all these ideas that are floating in my head or that I'd like to talk about, but I'm not, and it forces me to do something with them. So it's a good first draft creation motivation kind of structure. And you probably, or at least in my mind, the way I see things now, but you should probably not trust me too much on that because I can simply am changing my mind. But I would probably redo many of the topics I've done in my videos, probably as blog posts, and then I can kind of do them better. It can be the more I can polish them better. And I've already done that to an extent where some of the videos, even some videos I like decently, I rework them, and even when they're pretty close in content, rework them into a blog post, and it's better in my opinion. So I'm happier with the written version, and then I don't feel this need to redo it once I've done the written version. So yeah, that's all part of it. And then lastly, basically I think that the most interesting thing about doing those videos was every time I was experimenting with something new. So the very first videos I was doing, I never made videos before. So that was kind of interesting. And I think especially the video on Pyrrhonism that I did, I'm pretty happy with. Now I'd have to watch it back. Maybe I'd watch it back and be like, oh, this is actually terrible. But given that I was the very beginning, I was kind of trying stuff. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I thought I managed decently based on what I was working with. And then other stuff I tried, especially when then I moved to the only audio logs version, that was interesting for the first few videos, the first few tries I did. But then every time it becomes a new routine and there's no more true exploration, so to speak, because basically that's kind of a tension, right? You want to try new thing and experiment. But if you need to, well, at least for me, if I need to do videos every week, then you want to also streamline the process and not reinvent everything every time, right? And so if you want to make them quick and not have them be too much pressure for the week, and you know that you can do them, then you want to kind of streamline the thing and make it easy to do and quick to do. But then it becomes just this kind of stale routine of chores kind of, and it's not really fun and it's not really engaging. And I mean, when I go back to other creative projects I did, as I said, there'd be the existential crisis. It wouldn't always be fun. I would procrastinate too before I start writing, and that. But when I was engaged, I was engaged. I would still hit those moments where I was happy, and if with enough time, because sometimes when you just finish doing something, you're like, oh, I don't know if this is any good or not. But then with more time, and you kind of, you're not in the grip of this whole creative doubt, then you're like, oh, that's pretty good. At least, even if it's not incredible, kind of happy with it. And I've kind of lost my train of thought. Anyways, this kind of sums up my different points of friction, and there's probably more. I kind of have this compulsion, I've talked about it, to try and be super exhaustive and mention everything I could think of, but that's probably not great because these videos end up being very long. Anyways, so moving on to the conclusion. Over time, doing this whole thing and this kind of friction, keeping frictioning and trying new ways to kind of try and address some of them by changing up the format, and then trying again, and new friction is rising, that was going on. And then with my new circumstances in life, where I have less time and less energy, and it's becoming trickier to maintain this time investment. The cons have started to outweigh the pros, and so I've decided to kind of unshackle myself from this obligation, so to speak. Like I'm stopping the commitment to this channel and freeing up this time to do other stuff. Now, I'm saying this with caveats. Well, I guess we'll say, because I mean, it's not like those videos is what was eating all my time. I guess with this new rhythm, I kind of have to start from scratch with my discipline. It kind of destroyed a lot of my old framework, and yeah, we're not. Well, I've never been the best overachiever in the world. I've never been super good at being super productive and all, but it's gone definitely down. And so just because I'm freeing up time doesn't mean I'm going to suddenly be super productive. But anyways, I really need to start focusing on moving apartments and all. So lots of stuff to be thinking about. And although freeing this up doesn't mean I'm magically going to start doing better on all the other stuff I'm doing, I still think that basically I'm letting go of this thing for now. But with that being said, it was an interesting journey of experimentation and growth and trying new stuff. And so I don't have regrets about doing all the videos I did and spending all this time in it. And I learned a lot from it. And even moving forward with, if I do new types of content or whatever, I'll still be using some of the things I've learned here or through this process, through this journey, and using it in my further in the things I do next. So it's not like I've lost or anything, like this was a waste of time. I don't think so. So that's kind of on the plus side. And basically my journey of content creation so far, which has been going a couple of years by now, has been, well, or maybe even longer, but as in published content, probably only a couple of years. But it's always been trying stuff, then insatisfaction arise, and slowly become more and more weighty, and then I kind of try to course correct, and then I find a new way, and then I keep doing that, and then new frustrations or old frustrations come back, and it's a cycle of retweaking and retweaking all the time. So I guess it'll keep on going. Hopefully, at some point I'll spiral into something that works well enough that I don't need to switch it up all the time, but we'll see. Probably I'm thinking of going back to writing at some point. I'm not exactly sure how or when. I don't really want to. Basically, that's kind of part of the thing. I don't want to have to be constrained by this sets of rules. And I guess it's probably not that many people are expecting new videos from me. But for me, I take it seriously. Like when I commit to this, then it's like a big part. Like I want to keep it, to follow my routine and my commitment. So I'm personally relinquishing this commitment. And so I'm not making a new one on how I'm going to make content for in the future. I don't know exactly. I need to refigure things out. But probably going back to writing, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm the best at. And I mean, one of my motivation was doing the videos was that I could work on being more eloquent or confident when I'm sharing information through words. But at the end of the day, did I really invest the effort to get better at that? Not really. So, I mean, maybe I marginally got better just through doing it again and again, but not that much. Meanwhile, I'm already a good writer, I think. And I'm more happy with what I do there. So probably I'll go back to writing in some form. I'm thinking about maybe starting to publish on Substack, because then I can get some of the engagement benefits of working on YouTube. And I might do more YouTube stuff in the future. I don't know if it will be on this channel. I don't know exactly how the format will be, but probably pretty different, because I think that's another thing I've been thinking about. But whenever I would dream in the past of making a YouTube channel or the kind of stuff that inspired and motivated me, it wasn't this type of video. It was like more higher quality, more pretty different, like a stronger, like a more artistic thing, I guess. Or I can't go into all the details, but it's pretty different. It's not exactly what I've been doing so far. So yeah, probably more things I could say, but that will do. And so once again, thanks to everyone if you've been watching this video up to now. Hopefully, maybe you can glean some of the things I've been going through, and maybe it applies to you, or you resonate, or maybe you can learn stuff from my own journey. Hopefully, but thanks for watching. Thanks for giving me a chance. Thanks for listening, spending your precious time and attention on my ramblings. Usually at this time of the video, I would say see you in the next one, but will there be a next one? Who knows? I'm not sure. So instead, I'll give you my best wishes for your own journey and endeavors. And yeah, bye.